Hello and welcome to the Daily Millwall for Saturday the 12th of March 2022. Today's Millwall news: there was a match today, big match, sold out match, and it was a gritty affair, pretty even on the pitch, nightmare referee, and we came through with a 0-0 draw. So both teams hit the bar. Murray Wallace hit the bar, one of their lad hit the bar. Benicophobe had a decent chance, which of course he put wide, but what can you do? At least we didn't lose is the mantra. At least we didn't lose. If you look on the right hand side, you can see, well, what does that do? It knocks us down a couple of places to 11th on 54 points. Middlesbrough on 8th and 56, so you could say at least we didn't lose, or you could say a big opportunity missed. But what can you do? What can you do? We're still there or thereabouts. But if we would have won that game, we would have been there rather than there or thereabouts. So this is the match report from news@den.co.uk. Let's have a read of this. Pardon me. Millwall made it to a season equaling 7 matches unbeaten, and despite dropping 2 places in the Championship to 11th, they moved 3 points off 6. They moved on to, does that mean? They moved 3 points off 6 after their 0-0 draw against playoff rivals Middlesbrough at the Den on Saturday. The game was keenly contested and both sides will feel they had their chances to come away with a vital win. Nottingham Forest and Coventry move above the lines with emphatic wins over Reading and Sheffield United. Borough remain 2 points above Millwall and keep their 8th position. Lions defender Murray Wallace and Jake Cooper came equally close in the second half, denied by the bar and by Borough goalkeeper Joe Lumley respectively. Yeah, Jake Cooper had pretty decent header into the corner. He didn't jump. You know why he didn't jump? Because he couldn't. Because he had 2 of their players dragging on his shoulder, holding him down, and that could have been a penalty, even though they didn't pull him to the ground. I mean, come on, you're stopping him from jumping. Anyone else? But the referee, it's fine. It's fine. He's a tall lad. They can jump on him to even it out. Yeah, that was fucked up. Gary Rat had his keeper Bartosz Białkowski to thank on a couple of occasions, as well as the woodwork right at the beginning of the match. It is a 4th consecutive clean sheet, 2 for the Lions. But after 5 consecutive wins, 2 goalless draws means 6th spot probably isn't quite as close as Rat would have hoped heading into the last week before the international break. Middlesbrough carried near enough all the threat in a rough and tumble first half, the closest effort coming from Marcus Tavernier, who struck the crossbar from 25 yards with a 4th minute free kick. Millwall soon after had Białkowski to thank for the score remaining 0-0 in the 11th minute as Aaron Connolly slid in, fouling Balogun, but the unknown Arsenal striker could scarcely get his shot off from 12 yards thanks to the onrushing Lions keeper. Rowett's side created very little from open play all match, but went ultra close in the 49th minute when Scott Malone's deep corner was headed back across goal, and against Lumley's bar by Murray Wallace. On the hour mark, it would have been 3 goals in 4 games for Lions skipper Cooper, but for an excellent save by Lumley, springing across his line to keep out the big centre half's header. Moments earlier, Benicophobe's acrobatic attempt created a glaring open for Malone, which the defender wasted with a poor touch. In the 85th minute, Afobe turned Neil Taylor inside out but shot waywardly over from just inside the box. Yeah, that was good. Afobe basically created a chance out of nothing. So you could say, well, it's his chance to he's got a right to miss it because he made it out of nothing, but if that would have went in, that would have been scenes there. Takeaways, latest unbeaten run continues. Millwall went 9 league games unbeaten last season and 7 at the start of this campaign. There was another 7-game run without defeat in the infancy of Rout's reign when in charge in autumn 2019, and of course Neil Harris's 17 without defeat between January and April 2018. The latter sequence almost took the Lions to the playoffs. Millwall are very much in it again as they aim to go a couple of places better than their finishes in 8th in 2018 and 2020. Ballard versus Balogun, battle of the Arsenal loanees. By virtue of the scoreline, it was a closely fought battle, which Lions favourite Danny Ballard effectively won. Forward Balogun might have had a penalty in the 23rd minute when his burst to the Millwall box ended in him going down under Ballard's challenge, but shouts for a spot kick were quickly waved away by referee Robert Jones. Balogun started on the opening day for Arsenal in their 2-0 loss at Brentford and made a further Premier League appearance before joining the Teessiders in January. Ballard has yet to feature for the Gunners, but has been a key man at the back in SC16 this campaign. Apparently there were rumours linking us with that Balogun as well. I don't know if that's true or not. So every time a player gets linked with Middlesbrough, we get linked with them as well. It's kind of weird. Another shout out for the informed back six. Biakowski, Ballard, Cooper, Wallace, Murray Wallace, Danny McMara and Malone have 3 consecutive games together and given away a grand total of 0 goals. Fantastic. In fact, it is 4 shutouts in a row for Millwall and just 2 conceded within this fine unbeaten run. Although successive 0-0 draws of course points to a need to improve at the other end. Tyler Burry on the bench. Burry was on the front of the match programme but did not appear on the field as Rout opted instead for another young forward, 16-year-old Zach Lovelace. When Mason Bennett departed the pitch in the 70th minute, Burry was replaced by Alex Pearce 57 minutes into Tuesday's 0-0 draw at Blackburn, with Rout saying that though he had been brilliant since becoming the fixture in the side, he'd struggled ever so slightly playing out of position at times. Borough carded significantly less. By half-time, 3 of Millwall's back 5, Cooper, Ballard and Malone, had seen yellow, with Jed Wallace booked for dissent late in the first period. Millwall fans and boss Rout were understandably upset by this, as Borough's Matt Crooks escaped punishment early on after going in heavy on George Saville, once of the Teesside club himself. Cooper's booking came inside 4 minutes, while Ballard took his for a foul on Balogun. In the 18th minute, there was a true flashpoint. Occurred when Malone clashed with fellow wingback Isaiah Jones right in front of the 2 dugouts. Both saw yellow. That flurry of yellows stopped altogether in the second half, as referee Jones's cards remained somewhat surprisingly in his pocket for the rest of the match. Yeah, and if they hadn't, what happened? What would have happened? Would we have a player sent off? Or was the ref just trying to lay down a marker to get everyone to calm down? I don't know. Bit weird that. Bit weird. Maybe someone had a bet on how many cards in the first half and how many cards in the second half. Or maybe someone was betting him running on the number of cards, and when there was a lot of cards in the first half, the price for the total cards probably would have went a bit crazy. So then you could sell that line knowing that you're not going to give out a lot of cards in the second half. I don't know. All a bit dodgy, isn't it? All this spot betting bollocks, it's all a bit dodgy. It is. I don't know. I'm not saying nothing. So there you go. Match report from 0-0 draw against Middlesbrough at the Den. Decent result. Could have been better, but hey ho. So what does the manager say? So this is from londonnewsonline.co.uk, South London Press's online website. Mill manager Gary Rowditt's verdict on a 0-0 draw against Middlesbrough. Mill manager Gary Rowditt admitted that a point apiece was about right as his side extended their unbeaten run in the Championship to 7 matches. The 0-0 draw against Middlesbrough means that the Lions have not conceded in more than 6 hours of league football. Marcus Tavernier hit the crossbar with a free kick in the first half of a feisty contest We saw referee Robert Jones dish out 5 yellow cards in the first period, 4 of those to home players. Mario Wallace saw his header clip the top of the crossbar after the break with Borough goalkeeper Joe Lumley also diving to his right to push away Jay Cooper's goal-bound effort. Rowett said, "It was a really competitive game between two teams trying to win. A 0-0 probably wasn't a fair reflection in some ways of the match. There were lots of moments in both boxes to keep you on your toes, certainly as a manager on the sidelines. We knew with a full house that we had to start quite bright and aggressive. Both teams competed really well, few yellow cards early on, and the referee had his hands full with 1 or 2 decisions. A little lack of consistency for 1 or 2, but it was a difficult game to referee. It was pretty even first half. They transitioned quite well, with us on the forwards, Connolly and Balogun just dropping in. Once or twice we were a little wasteful in possession, and that allowed them to go and counter. Their free kicks at the bar, and it's probably the big one moment in the first half. Second half, we had a little less of the ball than we'd liked, and they are a difficult side to go and press because of their 2 central midfielders just play outside. Just play outside you and stop getting up the pitch and close. We actually had the better chances in the game. Most of theirs were set pieces. The one big one for me, aside from Bennick's opportunity, which he fashions himself, is inches away, came from his overhead kick. It was a good move. And Scotty ends up being unmarked in the middle of the box, and any sort of touch, I think he goes and scores, and the touch just runs away from him. That was symptomatic a little bit of our lack of the final bit today. It stopped us having a chance to win the game. Muzza hit the bar and Coops with a header, which Lumley makes a great save. We had the better moments, but I couldn't say we created so much more to win the game. The draw was a fair reflection. Sometimes these second halves are defined by the ability to be able to bring 2 or 3 fresh players onto the game to change the game, or to make a couple of changes to your starting team to allow that freshness to change the game. You think about the ability to bring in Bradshaw, Burke or Nojo, that could have been a big difference, but our players worked tirelessly. With 5 at the back, it's always difficult to get an extra body further forward, but you sacrifice some of the defensive solidity we've had in a lot of games where we've created chances in. All but the Blackburn game. Hopefully the fans will have seen the performance of the team just trying everything they can to try and win the game. Dunno, did you? Yeah. What can you, with the injuries, what can you say? I think a lot of fans are souring on Benicophobe. When he wasn't in the team, that's when our little winning run started. Now he's come back in. It's 2 draws now in a row since he's come back in. Well, he was at Reading. I think he did start at Reading, didn't he? Did he come off the bench? So it has started to turn sour when Bennick's been back. So yeah, I don't know. What does that say though? So moving on to this one. From Gary Rowett, more comments. This is from news@den.co.uk. Gary Rowett was pleased with Zach Lovelace's cameo in the 0-0 draw against Middlesbrough after putting the 16-year-old on instead of Tyler Burry as Millwall chased an opener. Lovelace was the only substitute against Chris Wilder's side, coming on in the 71st minute and showing glimpses of his talent. Rowett was asked if, as Burry had done, Lovelace was knocking on the manager's door asking for a chance. He's a confident lad. I don't think he's quite that confident at 16 knocking on the manager's door saying I want to play, Rowett said. But every time he gets an opportunity, he looks like he might take it. I just felt today it would have been easier to bring Tyler on. Tyler's had a couple. I just felt today it would have been easier to bring Tyler on. Then why didn't you? What? Is that a misquote? Was it supposed to would not have been easier? Tyler's had a couple of games where he's not quite been as good as he was previously. It happens with a young player. It always happens. So, did he think Tyler was going to be a bit shit again, so he didn't want to bring him off the bench so the fans would turn on him? Don't know. I think he's a bit of a show pony, isn't he? So, in a full house, I think Tyler Berry would have put on a show in front of the fucking full house. Especially with the fans getting behind him because he scored 2 in 2. I felt today to give Zach a chance to see what he could do, stretch his legs for 30 minutes, a bit more time on the pitch to get a flavour of what he's capable of. Yeah, and to be fair, a lot of fans have been saying that as well. Don't just give him 2 minutes at the end of the match, give him 10, give him 15. Just what can he do? What's the worst that he can do up front? Not score. He made some really good runs, some good touches. I thought it was more a game for an out-and-out striker than it was for a winger looking for that space. I was pleased with a lot of performance. Defensively, we looked sound again, but just needed a little bit more to unlock the door going forward. Okay. Weird one, that. Weird one. Moving on now to this. So, as we just heard, Zach Lovelace was the only substitute used. Why is that? Don't worry, Gary Rout's had to explain himself again. This is also from news at den.co.uk. Gary Rout says he is incredibly impressed with how his squad have responded to an injury crisis and explained why he didn't use more of his bench in a 0-0 draw against Middlesbrough. Despite having 8 players unavailable against their playoff rivals, Mill stretched their unbeaten run to 7 games and are 3 points off 6 with 10 fixtures left. Zach Lovelace was the only substitute against Chris Wilder's side when he replaced Mason Bennett in the 71st minute. Danny Ballard started despite going off with a groin problem in the 0-0 draw against Blackburn Rovers on Tuesday. And Rowettville, Scott Malone and George Evans also had issues against Borough. I've been incredibly impressed over this period. When times are a little tougher, you see how people respond and react. I think the old squad has pulled together incredibly well, Rout said. Sometimes in those second halves, they're defined by the ability to bring 2 or 3 fresh players on to change the game, or to be able to make a couple of changes to your starting team to allow that freshness to change the game. Again, you think about the opportunity to bring Bradshaw, Ojo, Burke on today. It could have been a big difference in the game. But our players worked hard, worked tirelessly. With 5 at the back, it's always going to be difficult to get a body further forward. But you sacrifice some of the defensive solidity we've had in a lot of games. We're still creating chances. In all but the Blackburn game, we still create chances to win games. We worked hard, but the finishing touch wasn't quite there today. Hopefully the fans have seen the performance from a team that are trying everything they can to win the game. Rowett left Tyler Berry on the bench against Borough. We've just read that, yeah. Scott Malone was struggling today with an illness but worked incredibly hard. Thought he did really well against Isaiah Jones. Danny Ballard, unbelievable recovery. Didn't feel it looked so good. He felt his hamstring a little bit, but nothing too serious. And Evo was on the bench after feeling his calf in the warm-up, so I couldn't bring him on. So he got injured in the warm-up, and they just left him on the bench. So that's fantastic. More injury problems. So you, okay. Moving on now to the other side. What's happening from the other side? This is from londonnewsonline.co.uk. Borough boss has a lot of respect for Millwall and reckons Den is one of toughest away tests. Chris Wilder was proud of his Middlesbrough players after their 0-0 draw at Millwall and reckons that Den is one of the toughest away assignments in the Championship. The T-siders came into the contest off the back of a 4-1 loss at Sheffield United, which had dented their playoff hopes. The Lions are 3 points off the playoffs and extended their unbeaten run to 7 in the Championship. Millwall had chances to win the game but could not convert, and now racked up 7 clean sheets in the last 10 matches, as well as 4 in a row. Rowett said, I asked the question to the players if they could respond, and they had to answer it possibly the toughest of players, where they do ask the question all over behind the dugout in the stands on the pitch. They are on a fabulous run, and they're a really competitive side. If you're weak mentally or physically, they will run all over the top of you, and we weren't some great challenges. I really enjoy coming here because it's a real tough test of what you're about as a professional. You've got to tackle, and we did. Gary Rowell will look at a couple of their chances. We're a bit disappointed with the chances we gave away. I can be a little bit critical of us in the final third. Didn't really play quick enough. Looking back at it, a draw was a fair result. I know there was a lot of tackles going in, but both teams were at it. We came here on quite a pivotal day for us. 1 point out of 15 away from home is not great. If you can't win and don't get beaten, we took a point away from a really tough place to come. There were some tackles flying in, and I'm all over that. I want my team to be competitive. We have to accept that if we're going to make contact with teams, teams are going to make contact with us, get on with it, and it's a great experience for some of the younger players. It tests you mentally, it tests you physically, and I enjoy that. I'm glad Gary is going well, and I've got a lot of respect for Millwall. They're going great at the moment. It's always a tough place to come, and especially when it's a full house. You're coming into the business end of the season, they're doing well, we're in the mix. There's no hiding places, you get tested, and the older players were great. Around the final third we should have been better, but I've got to say, I would have taken that performance and that result when we walked into their ground. Their front three are really good. Bennett, Phobia and Jed Wallace, who I've known for a long time. He's a fabulous player, they're bang in form. 5 wins and 2 draws in their last 7. That's promotion form. We've come to a promotion form team and got a result, so we'll take it. There was a PA announcement to tell fans to stop throwing objects on the pitch. Warning that the referee will take both players off teams off if it continues to happen. And Wild said the physio got struck by something, and then he gives a quote there, which I'm not going to read because we're going into it from this story from the Northern Echo. Echo. Middlesbrough physio Chris Mosley struck by a missile at Millwall. A missile? I thought missiles is what's going on in Ukraine. I don't think it was a missile, mate. Chris Wilder has revealed that Middlesbrough physio Chris Mosley was struck by a missile during this afternoon's goalless draw with Millwall. Mosley is understood to have given a statement to the police. Oh, you fucking rats. After he was struck by something thrown from the crowd at the Den. An announcement over the tannoy during the second half of today's game warned supporters that the players would leave the field if there were further instances of things being thrown onto the field. However, the game was played out with any further issues, with Burrows playing, players digging deep to secure a point. And Wilder said, I think the physio got struck by something. I've got to say, I was too busy to really care. But I think there was a situation with the police where our physio wanted to give a statement. I was too engrossed in the game because it was that type of game. You couldn't really take your eye off it. I think he's okay. He'll survive. It's an intimidating atmosphere. It's always a tough place to come. You're coming to the business end of the season. They're in the mix and we're in the mix too with that result. So there you go. What can you say? What can you say? C'est la vie, mate. C'est la vie. Yeah. Is it really worth? I'm not going to say anything. And on that note, thank you for watching and goodbye.